Forgiveness is one of the most difficult yet deeply liberating practices in human life. It is not just an act of generosity towards someone else, but above all, a gift to oneself, allowing one to let go of the past for the sake of the future. In a world where resentment, anger, and a sense of injustice can bind us for years, the art of forgiveness becomes the key to inner freedom, emotional healing, and the ability to live a full, authentic life, unburdened by the burden of yesterday's wounds. This is seeing unlimited greatness. Forgiveness is often mistakenly perceived as forgetting what happened, justifying the offender, or denying one's own pain. However, this is far from the case. Forgiveness does not erase the memory of what happened and does not mean that you approve of the act that caused pain. On the contrary, it is a conscious decision to free yourself from negative emotions, anger, resentment, indignation, bitterness that bind us to the past and continue to destroy us from within. Holding on to grudges is like drinking poison in the hopes that it will harm someone else. Forgiveness is an act of self-protection, caring for your mental and emotional health. What forgiveness is and isn't first. It's important to clearly define what forgiveness is. It's a process, not a one-time action. It's a change in your attitude toward a situation and the person who caused you pain. Forgiveness means that you give up the desire to take revenge or hurt in return. You choose to let go of the negative feelings that hold you captive in the past and make room for peace and calm. Forgiveness is not an excuse or encouragement for bad behavior. You can forgive someone and still view their actions as wrong or unacceptable, forgetting or erasing memory. The past experience remains with you as a lesson, but it no longer has a destructive power over your present, reconciling with the offender. You can forgive someone but still choose not to restore the relationship, especially if it was toxic or harmful. Weakness, on the contrary, forgiveness requires great inner strength, courage, and determination to face your negative emotion, an instant act. For deep wounds, the process of forgiveness can take a long time, requiring patience, introspection, and repeated effort. The path to forgiveness, practical steps. The path to forgiveness can be long and winding, but it always begins with recognizing and accepting your feelings. You cannot forgive until you acknowledge the pain, anger, disappointment, or betrayal you have experienced. Allow yourself to experience these emotions without suppressing them. You can journal, talk to a trusted person, cry, do whatever helps you express and process your experiences. Only after going through this stage can you move on. The next step is to recognize the harm that the resentment causes you. Consider how long you have been holding on to this anger. How does it affect your health, your relationships, your ability to enjoy life? Understanding that it is not forgiveness but the inability to forgive, that is the poison that is poisoning your life, becomes a powerful incentive to move forward. It is a shift in focus from the offender to your own well-being. Next, try to look at the situation from the other side. This is not an excuse, but an attempt to understand the motives of the offender, even if they seem incomprehensible or unacceptable to you. Perhaps the person acted out of their own pain, ignorance, fear, or weakness. Perhaps they themselves were a victim in other circumstances. This does not mean that their actions become acceptable, but understanding their context can help loosen the grip of personal resentment. Sometimes it is useful to imagine that you are an outside observer who looks at the situation impartially. An important and often overlooked aspect is self-forgiveness. Sometimes we feel anger and resentment not only toward others, but also toward ourselves for allowing a situation to happen, for failing to protect ourselves, or for making mistakes in response. Forgiving ourselves forces us to let go of guilt and shame, acknowledge our imperfections, and accept that we did the best we could given our knowledge and circumstances at the time. This frees up a huge resource of energy that was spent on self-flagellation. The next practice is letting go. This can be a symbolic act, writing a letter to the offender, which you do not send, meditating on the topic of forgiveness, or a ritual in which you mentally release the pain. The point is to consciously decide to give up the right to revenge or to hold on to the resentment. This process may require repetition, especially when old feelings resurface. Benefits of forgiveness. The path to a fuller life, physical and mental health. Numerous studies show that the inability to forgive negatively affects physical health, leading to chronic stress, high blood pressure, heart problems, depression, and anxiety. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is associated with reduced stress, better sleep, stronger immunity, and an overall increase in well-being, freedom from the past. Forgiveness breaks the chains that bind us to past hurts and traumas. It allows us to stop being victims of the past and become active creators of our present and future. When we forgive, we take back control of our emotional lives, improved relationship. Although forgiveness does not always lead to reconciliation, it frees us to build healthier relationships in the future. If we constantly carry the weight of old grievances, this inevitably projects into new relationships, creating mistrust and barriers. Forgiveness cleanses our hearts and allows us to enter into relationships with openness and trust. Personal growth. The process of forgiveness is a profound journey of self-discovery. It requires courage, self-reflection, and a willingness to change. Each time we choose to forgive, we strengthen our inner strength, develop empathy and compassion, and become wiser and more resilient. It is an act of supreme self-realization, finding peace and calm. Ultimately, forgiveness brings deep inner peace. It frees us from the need to constantly chew on grudges, to restore justice in the mind, and to hold on to anger. This peace allows us to live in the present moment, to appreciate what we have, and to find joy in each day. The art of forgiveness is not an act of weakness, but the greatest manifestation of human strength and wisdom. It is an act of love for ourselves, for others, for life. By letting go of the past, we open the door to a future full of new possibilities, healing, and genuine happiness. It is a choice we make every day, step by step, on the path to a full and free life. Forgiveness as a process of healing and growth. Forgiveness can be seen as a complex but necessary healing process. Just as a wound on the body needs time, care, and proper treatment to heal, emotional wounds require a conscious approach. If left untreated, a physical wound can become infected and cause pain for years. The same thing happens with unforgiven offenses, which turn into pustules in the soul, poisoning our existence. Forgiveness is an active action aimed at disinfecting and tightening these emotional wounds, allowing them to heal and become part of our history rather than our constant suffering. It is important to understand that this is not a linear process. Do not expect that after one decision or one meditation, all the offenses will disappear forever. Feelings can return, especially in moments of stress or when faced with reminders of the past. At such moments, repeated forgiveness becomes key. Each time negative emotions arise, it becomes a new opportunity to consciously choose to forgive, to let them go again, and to strengthen your resolve. It's like a difficult garden. Once you've cleared the weeds, you know they may come back, and this requires constant care and attention. Forgiveness is also inextricably linked to responsibility. This does not mean assigning blame, but rather understanding your own role in the situation and your power to change the future. Even if you were a victim, you are responsible for your response and your path to healing. This aspect of self-responsibility gives you a sense of control and power, rather than remaining in a position of helpless victimhood. Taking responsibility for your response and your emotional state is a powerful act of self-liberation. Finally, forgiveness opens the door to compassion and empathy. When we forgive successfully, we begin to better understand the complexity of human nature, realizing that each person is perhaps doing the best they can, given their level of awareness, their wounds, and their life experiences. This does not excuse their actions, but allows us to see them not simply as bad or evil, but as complex beings experiencing their own challenges. Developing compassion for others, in turn, deepens our compassion for ourselves, creating a more harmonious and compassionate inner world. The art of forgiveness is therefore an ongoing practice that requires courage, patience, and deep self-knowledge. It is a fundamental element of personal growth, allowing us to break the chains of the past, heal old wounds, and open our hearts to new possibilities and genuine joy in the future. It is not just an action, it is a way of life that leads to true freedom and well-being.
If you'd like to support the channel and help us keep pushing forward, there are links in the description where you can donate. Every contribution helps us reach more people, do more good, and keep this mission alive. There's also a store down below where you can grab something for yourself, or even better, a gift for someone you care about. It's a simple way to spread love and let someone know they matter. We're all just trying to grow, to become better, to rise above the noise and step into who we're really meant to be. And I truly believe change is possible, the kind of change that creates a ripple effect and helps others see the beauty still left in this world. This channel is about real growth, real transformation, and I'm here to give you a front row seat to what that looks like. Raw, honest, and grounded in purpose. God is within all of us, and my goal is simple: to reflect that light as clearly and powerfully as I can for you and for the world around us.